Figuring out a way to commit to working on the business is half the battle.
What are you seeing teams struggle with right now? Just, in 2025, 2026, what have you been seeing?
So that's one thing, is everyone challenges with just taking the time to slow down and work on the business. And that's a universal issue with entrepreneurial teams. They're moving too fast. Mainstream small business America, they're all using AI every day now, whereas a year ago, none of them were, right? They're all using it every day, and they're really concerned about how they can leverage it. It's very confusing right now.
Talk to me about those rocks, because I know that's a critical part to the quarterly process. How are you seeing teams develop their rocks?
When I start with clients and everyone who does EOS, they average, when they do their first set of rocks, they only average 50% completion, meaning they miss 50% of the rocks. The uncertainty can be killer for a lot of businesses right now, where there is no way to predict where the world is going right now, and it's very stressful and creates a lot of anxiety for teams.
Welcome to The Show Goes On, a podcast about the people who keep businesses running behind the scenes. My name is Aamir, and today I'm joined by Mike Jones. Mike, good to have you.
Hey, Aamir, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
So Mike, before you got on, we were talking about your prior entrepreneurial experience, and I want to dig into that. But let's rewind all the way back to 2001, because I had a chance to do some research on you, and I saw that you served. So thank you for your service. But let's talk about that. I think that's a very unique experience.
Yeah, it's an experience that shaped my whole career for sure. 2001 is when I graduated college, and I got commissioned in the Marine Corps. And ultimately spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, became an infantry officer, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. So I had good or bad timing, depending on how you look at it, where I joined peacetime. I joined the peacetime Marine Corps. And then 2001, when I was transitioning to becoming a lieutenant, is when 9/11 happened. And so I went to Quantico, where all Marine officers train. And the Marine Corps started, getting ready to become a wartime Marine Corps after a lot of years of peacetime, and did a year of training, became an infantry officer, which was my primary goal. I wanted to get that specialty because I came from a really big Marine Corps family that was all infantry officers, and got my first platoon, started training with them, went on winter leave in 2002. And then we got called back early and got on ships, went over to Kuwait, spent a month in Kuwait, trained. And then March of 2003, so I guess we're at 23 years ago, we drove over this berm into Iraq and invaded the country. And so that was my first combat experience. And we ended up, spending there 6 months there, doing mostly peacetime, peacekeeping. And then 6 months of peacekeeping, some combat in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating, and that's like a unique experience that not a lot of people share. So, what inspired you to join?
Two things. One is the family background. My grandfather was a very famous Marine general, and he was a larger-than-life personality in my family and lives. And then my dad, his son, was a Marine officer as well, who loved the Marine Corps, made a career out of it. He got out at lieutenant colonel, but he made a career. He still loves the Marine Corps. And so that was obviously a massive factor in my life. And then the other one was not knowing what I wanted to do. I played lacrosse in college, and my older brother went to the same college as me, and all my buddies were basically getting into banking and finance for the most part. And I really did not want to do that. And I didn't really know what else I wanted to do. So during the summer after my junior year, I found out that you could go basically try out. You could go to officer candidate school, which is officer boot camp. You can go for the summer, see if you pass. And then if you pass or fail, you're done. You can choose whether to become an officer or not. And that was really appealing to me, was not having to commit, just try it out. So I did that, made it, just barely made it, and knew that I was going to do it by the time I was done, but just not having to commit and not knowing what else to do is a big factor. So it was literally a lot of my career has been not exactly sure what else to do. So I'm going to try this challenging thing.
Mm-hmm.
So on, rinse and repeat.
Where did that come from? Like that whole thing of like, hey, I'm going to do this and we'll figure it out and go from there.
I think one big thing as I'm 46 and I try to get more and more introspective as I age and mature is I've always had part of my personality and DNA is that I just I want to be non-traditional and do different things. So everyone's going into banking around me. That's not the thing I'm going to go in. It doesn't matter what it is, for better or worse. Sometimes that hurts me. That's hurt me. Sometimes that's helped me, but it's definitely made for interesting decisions, an interesting life, being slightly off the beaten path in everything that I do. That's a big one. And then the other one is I just grew up being a person who didn't find that thing that is like, this is the thing that I'm going to invest the rest of my life in, or this is the thing that I'm so obsessed with that I can't not do. I have 5 kids, which is amazing.
That's
and my oldest, yeah, it's fun. It's a lot. My oldest son is a ballet dancer, and he's the opposite of me. He has his thing that he's going to do, and he's going to do it he's all in. He's going to go all the way to being a professional if he can. And that's going to be his thing until he's 25 or something like that. I admire that, but that was never me.
Oh, so you have 5 kids.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. How old are they?
15-year-old twins, boy-girl twins, 12-year-old boy, 3-year-old boy, 1-year-old daughter.
Oh man. So you're still in it.
Oh yeah. I'm in it. I got divorced. I had 3 kids, got divorced, repartnered 2 additional kids. So yeah, we're at the full spectrum in the household right now. It's fun. It's fun and full.
Yeah, that's awesome. What town are you based out of now?
I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota.
St. Paul.
And I'm in downtown Minneapolis right now.
Okay, cool. How is the scene over there? How is downtown Minneapolis? Like, how is that? I haven't been there before.
It's great. It's an awesome town. We've been in the news a lot in the past 6 months, which is an unfortunate thing because all the things that have been going down with ICE and the government are real. They've impacted everyone. They dramatically impacted the local businesses. That's unfortunate. It's also unfortunate how the way the news works and media works is that like it's very difficult for people to get a real picture of what's actually happening here. And so if you're from somewhere else, if you're from the East Coast or the West Coast of the US, Minnesota's flyover territory, right? It's like you don't know much about it. We don't really want to be on the national news as much as we've been. And what you see is like you're probably not going to get the real information of what's actually happening. So that's been frustrating. I would say it's a great town. Minneapolis is awesome. St. Paul is awesome. It's a great place to live, great place to build a family. So yeah, I love it. I've been here since 2007, so almost 20 years.
Wow. Okay.
And this is home.
So you've seen it probably shift and change a lot throughout those almost 20 years?
Yeah. Yes, and it's a pretty stable place. Like it's not a very fast growth market. So it's been like steady, slight growth for the past 20 years. I think maybe it's been stable. COVID caused turnover of certain neighborhoods. So like some neighborhoods that were thriving a couple are dead and then others are blowing up. So that's caused some change. But yeah, it's a pretty stable environment. It's not like Austin, for example, that has just dramatically transformed because of relocation and population growth. Minneapolis is kind of steady.
Very steady. Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned Austin. I'm based out of Dallas, and in Austin, it's kind of weird right now. Like real estate jacked up super high, right? The past 3 or 4 years. And now it's kind of come plummeting back. And it's just one of those markets where it's a huge buyer's market now. And a lot of sellers are having to mark down their homes.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Yeah. That's the ebb and flow of markets is a fascinating to see, yeah, like
correction going on in Austin, San Antonio, Florida, all over now. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't paid attention to that, and I would have thought that Austin was still the hottest market.
Yeah. I think it's similar to Nashville in that it's still like a pretty growing market. It's burgeoning, but I think the real estate got a little too hot, and now when there's no buyers, right? So you have no choice but to mark it down.
Yeah, lots of influencers and crypto people moved to Austin from California and probably created a real estate bubble, which I know
Yeah.
has happened in a couple markets from that phenomenon. Right, Denver. I ran a fitness business that expanded to Denver, and I know that I have friends that left the area because of that issue,
Mhm.
where like people from more expensive markets flooded into Denver, jacked up the home rates, and they were like, my house tripled in value. We're going to leave and go to a cheaper market.
Yeah. Yeah. That happened a lot in Austin with California folks, right? They all came to Austin, real estate jacked up, and then everyone in California realized, like, oh wait, we actually enjoy California a lot more, so we're gonna go back now.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'm sure we don't need to talk about Minneapolis and markets for too long, but that brings it back to what I like about this market, where it's like nice cosmopolitan, decent density metro area that doesn't have like the super high cost of living, crazy traffic. Like it's an easy place to live, but it has 80% of what you would want in a big market like Chicago.
Hmm.
So it's like 80-20. It gives you 80, like you get pretty much there. If you want to really niche down, like I'm into electronic music,
Oh, okay.
and
Same.
that's a great example where like if you're an electronic music geek, you're not going to really be able to niche down and find everything that you want every weekend in Minneapolis, where you
Hmm.
could in Chicago. So like that
Yeah.
like final 20%, but you get 80%, and things don't change that much. It's like stable.
Hmm.
So there you go. That's my plug on Minneapolis.
Yeah. I hear that. Okay, so you mentioned your fitness business that you had, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about how that got started and what that got to?
Yeah. So I was out of the Marine Corps. Again, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I got an MBA from Georgetown. And the best job I got was at 3M as a marketer. So I focused on marketing and spent a couple of years in 3M, learned a lot, great corporation. During that time, I got passionate about CrossFit, mostly from entrepreneurial that I liked the workouts. I always, first time I saw it, I saw this is something totally different. This is in 2008. It was only CrossFit gyms on the coast, and it was starting to grow. It was getting ready to blow up. And I saw it, and my wife was a trainer. She'd become a trainer. So she was the expertise. She was a gifted trainer. And I was like, we should do this right now. This is a thing. There's going to be gyms here, but there aren't any now. Like, this is our opportunity. So she was down. A couple months later, we opened the first CrossFit in St. Paul, which is CrossFit St. Paul. And so we hit timing really well. We were young, 30, I was 30, we were good operators, but like we didn't know what we were doing. So we just had great timing. The market blew up right then. I mean, many gyms started opening too.
Hmm.
So it became saturated quickly, but we couldn't really do wrong. We got up to 4 locations, left 3M, made a good living, didn't make like massive amounts of money, but enough to live
Hmm.
off the business, enough to, start a family, scale up. And that led us into, I launched my own brand, which was kind of like CrossFit, but our own spin. And that was called Alchemy 365, and scaled that for 5 years, expanded to Denver, got our asses kicked by COVID,
Mm.
but survived, and then transitioned into a couple other things and led into coaching, which is where I'm at now.
Okay. All right. And tell me about the coaching business and when did that get started and what is that all about?
Yeah, so it's called an operating system called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And it's used around the world, 26,000 companies, and it's small businesses that are trying to scale, having a way of operating so that they can do 3 things we call vision, traction, and healthy. So vision is getting everyone on the same page with where they're going, how they're going to get there. Traction is instilling discipline and accountability, so everyone's moving in the same direction. And healthy is creating fun-loving, cohesive teams that like to work together. And it's a system that I heard about when I was launching my second company. I read the book Traction, which the guy who started EOS wrote, Gino Wickman, and I read it and I was like, oh, we should do this now. It just made sense. I had an MBA. I was kind of smart. I was running a successful business, but like anyone who does it can tell you, there's not really like an operating manual of how to run a business. And this is a good one. This is a good one, and it works. So I just followed it. I hired an implementer who was a coach, and he facilitated our planning sessions for 4 years. And we kept operating for, a decade as I was building and selling my businesses. And then, I wanted to do it. I wanted to help others with it for a while, but all the smart implementers who I know say, don't do it unless you're going to do it full time, because it's hard to build a coaching practice. Like, cool. I listened to them, and I waited until I was available out of my last business. And then I went all in a couple years ago. And that's what I do full time, which is coach leadership teams, help them learn the system, facilitate their planning, and act as their business coach.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And how have you found that lately?
It's the best thing ever. It is just, it's work that I was thinking about it this morning. It's work that I'm the most suited for based on all the experience that I've had. And I am a good fit for this work. I have the entrepreneurial background. I've been where they're trying to go. Many of them have bigger businesses, but I've been through the challenges, right? I'm suited for the work. I've been facilitating and leading groups my whole career. Even building a CrossFit business was facilitation of groups, right? So I've been doing this kind of work for many years. And then learning how to be a coach I have some natural ability, and it's an infinite skill, meaning I can get better at it for the rest of my career. So facilitation and coaching is something you can never master. There's just an infinite path of mastery. So it's this great way to force my development, and it's like the most high impact work you can have. I get to spend a day, the most important day of the quarter, with companies that are trying to make an impact on the world and help them get out of their way, right? Help them do better, help them get more of what they want. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, you talk about that quarterly day, right? Because we're also very familiar with EOS. We've been using it since 2018. And that quarterly day, it's pretty special because you head into it, and as long as the leadership team is aligned and on the same page, you come out of it super energized because you have all your rocks set for the quarter. Talk to me about those rocks, because I know that's a critical part to the quarterly process. How are you seeing teams develop their rocks?
Yeah, so I use the same process every session for every client, which is this. So like the quarterly session, you're familiar with it, but I'll give you a high level. It's an all-day session that any team that is at the point where there's multiple functional leaders of the organization. So by the time you get to where you want to create a quote unquote executive team is when this is a good idea to start doing it. If you're a solo, it's a great idea to do a half day quarterly planning session. I'm sure you could agree, like some kind of pause, get together, see how you did, set your priorities, get aligned is what we're talking about. And so mine is very, very structured, and we get together, we check in, connect, we review the previous quarter. So how did they do against their previous, we call them rocks, which is their priorities. Did they hit their numbers that they forecasted? What did they learn from the quarter? Let's put the quarter to bed. And then it's, what issues are we facing? What are our challenges? Let's build our issues list. They've got their issue. They come in with a long list of issues. Let's get it out on the table. Make sure everything that we are challenged with and opportunities that we haven't solved are on the board. And then we ask the team to prioritize, just do a little journaling. What are the company's 3 to 7 must get done priorities over the next 90 days? What do you all have to get done in order to move the business or organization forward and stay on track with your long-term plan? And they all know. So if there's 5 people, they'll have, 5 times 5, 25 priorities that they'll list out. Put them all on the board. Half of them are the same thing. So we'll combine them down because they all know like the top priorities if they're a team that's relatively aligned and they've been using this process for a while. And then we argue. We call it keep, kill, combine, but we argue, we battle about, people defend what they think their priorities are, because you can't do them all. and we say, which ones do we absolutely have to get done? And those bubble up to the top. And we say, which ones are important, but they should wait. We can't do that these 90 days. Put it back on the issues list. Or this is important, but it's just someone's job. They should be taking care of this. So that's not a priority. And we narrow it down and we get real critical down to 3 to 7 priorities that we call rocks. We smart them, make them specific, timely, measurable, attainable, relevant, assign an owner who is the project leader, and then the team is completely in alignment on what their priorities are. And sorry if I went too long, but
no, you're good. I'm tracking.
Like you said, this is what I do with every quarterly. This is like the heart of prioritizing and planning as an organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the things I've read in the book in Traction, it talks about how as you go and make your rocks, you get better and better at it each quarter. Because this just happened to me last night. I was looking back at some rocks we made like a year and a half ago, and I'm like, wow, that was an awful rock. You know, why do we even set that? So I think that's the cool thing about these rocks and just the EOS system is that you get better and better at it as you keep going. What are you seeing teams struggle with right now? Just, you know, in 2025, 2026, what have you been seeing?
So yeah, the getting better thing is a massively important point.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the reason teams struggle is that they spin their wheels and don't just start a process like this of prioritizing, taking time to themselves, and getting better. Because just like you said, it's an iterative process. When I start with clients and everyone who does EOS, they average, when they do their first set of rocks, they only average 50% completion, meaning they miss 50% of the rocks. And then over a 2-year period, they work up to 80, 90% completion. So yeah, you're exactly right. Everyone sucks at it. I sucked at it too. So that's one thing, is everyone challenges with just taking the time to slow down and work on the business. And that's a universal issue with entrepreneurial teams. They're moving too fast. They're doing all the things. And that transition to having others do the executing and you elevate to working on the business is very difficult. Most fail at it. You've scaled companies. You know how hard it is. Most can't do it. And so figuring out a way to commit to working on the business is half the battle. Other big things would be not being able to let go. So I'm talking, let me clarify. Do you want universal challenges or do you want things that teams are facing right now, like topical things? What do you think would be better?
I think we should talk about both, right? Like, okay, I think, what are the universal things? But then, also just this year, what are you seeing? But let's start with universal and then we can get more specific.
Okay. Yeah. So taking the time is the first one I said. Not being able to let go of the vine, meaning you're trying to delegate, you're the founder, you did all the sales, you're the key sales leader. You've grown to a point where you actually need to become an executive and run the company. And so you need to build a sales department, and that that friction and challenge of bringing on a qualified sales manager, delegating your sales process that you haven't even really laid out yet, like that with all the functions of the organization is really hard. And founders often fail and slow themselves down because they don't invest in the right people first, right? They're used to paying, hourly, virtual people, having contractors, bits and piece stuff. And then when it's time to get a sales manager, in this example, they underpay. They don't have the job even laid out properly. They don't have the department set up. And there's all these ways it's going to be very difficult to work unless you get super lucky. Like have you had this experience?
Absolutely. Sometimes you just nail the right hire and like that solves everything. As you were talking about that, I was like, man, there's been so many times where we try to lay out the job and all that, and then you just strike gold sometimes and you land on the right person. You're like, wow, okay, that's all it was.
Yeah. And sometimes you get lucky and that's amazing, but oftentimes you don't. And it's so costly to do that the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so I'm not here to sell my system, but having a system is helpful. Committing and like knowing what you're going for, however you need to get help. In this sales example would be like, if you have a profitable growth business and you want to elevate out of the sales department, bringing in like a fractional sales expert to help you shape that role. If you get the right person, it's a good way to take that leap. So that's just a big challenge that everyone faces. I'll leave it at that on the universal ones. Topical ones I'm seeing right now. So I do 2 or 3 sessions a week. Number one is everyone's concerned about AI, of course. Like, am I using it enough? Do we know how to leverage it the right way individually as an organization? And I'll qualify. Most of my teams and businesses are Main Street businesses, construction companies, 2 construction companies, insurance, coaching, 2 coaching businesses. I've got 1 coaching business that's an AI focus, so they're obviously, but like mainstream businesses, not like bleeding tech. So that's to qualify that. But mainstream small business America, they're all using AI every day now, whereas a year ago, none of them were, right? They're all using it every day, and they're really concerned about how they can leverage it. It's very confusing right now. So that's difficult. The uncertainty can be killer for a lot of businesses right now, where there is no way to predict where the world is going right now. And it's very stressful and creates a lot of anxiety for teams in most industries. Because I work cross industry. So I'm all over the place on industries. I'm seeing that everywhere. And then the other one is like getting great talent. Can be somewhat industry dependent, but there's some areas where like getting the young professional talent can be really hard. And it's getting harder and harder because there's shifts going on, as we all kind of know. There's shifts going on in how people in the US like to work, what young professionals think they should be doing. And that's a big challenge.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift going on. And like, I think after COVID, we saw everything about, okay, this is moving from in person to remote. And now it sounds like we're kind of settling in at hybrid because people are seeing the value of being in person, but just not all the time. And now the shift that you're seeing is, wait, this thing that used to take me like hours is now taking me minutes or even seconds. And what does that mean for just my productivity? And what does that mean for a lot of entry level jobs? And I think that's really hurting folks that are just coming out of college, or even people who are midway through their careers and really didn't get a chance to elevate into those senior management roles. So yeah, I think you hit it on the head when you said uncertainty. Like there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and it's moving so quick. Like I saw an image on my phone yesterday of like some graphic that we made on ChatGPT, and I was like, wow, that looks like crap compared to what you can create now. And just in 1 year, it evolved that quickly. So it's moving at breakneck speed. And I think it can feel a little overwhelming for folks sometimes, like, wait, where do I go next? So
it's insane. It's disorienting. It's funny though. I would imagine I'm thinking about being like the old guy, being like, man, I couldn't imagine being a young kid getting out of college right now. I'm guessing like what year did you graduate college?
11. So I'm 10 years younger than you, 36.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we're similar generation. You're 10 years younger, but I'm pretty sure when I was graduating, there was a recession and the internet was like, the big thing. I bet people were saying the exact same thing about me, and then they're saying thinking about you, like the age of social media is changing and it does. I think it's always like that.
Yours was like the .com era, right? That's when everything was like a little scary. Mine was, and this is happening during my like sophomore year of college. That was like the real estate housing crisis, right? All the subprime mortgages and everything. So it was like I think those are the 3 distinct stages that we've seen it, which is the .com in the 2000s, early 2000s, and all the housing stuff, which is really tough for people trying to get into finance and real estate and all that in 08, 09, and 10. And then now it's been like kind of a mix between COVID, AI, kind of all shoved into like one little era. And you're exactly right. Like I hear all this stuff about Gen Z, and I think to myself, I'm like, wow, the way they're shitting on Gen Z now is exactly how they used to shit on millennials with like the avocado toast and the lattes and everything. And now that everyone's like, oh yeah, millennials are fine. And it's like, you just got to give it time. This is like a timeless concept that happens, right? It's just the previous generation. What are they going to do? But, humanity is very resilient, and eventually they'll figure it out. And they might be even richer than all the generations combined because of how they're able to leverage AI.
I think that that's a good prediction. I think they could be. Yeah, I think they're going to have challenges like every other generation. And man, we've had a lot. Like we haven't had a dull moment in our professional careers, and we probably aren't going to. That's just how things are.
Yeah. They keep moving, especially in the United States, right? Things are just changing all the time, and you're around a ton of folks who are optimistic, ambitious, and want to keep making things happen. You know?
Absolutely.
So I want to end with a couple of rapid fire questions. I ask everyone this, but what is your favorite book right now?
Favorite book? Okay, can I give you like a couple?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
but you can't
all
say
right.
traction though.
Yeah, I won't. I won't say traction. Okay, so fiction. I just finished. This is like not high fiction, but I just finished a series called Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Okay.
And it's like a fantasy sci-fi. It's freaking awesome. Nice. Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's so fun. That's like my fun, not even guilty, just like fun, feel good read. My favorite book that comes to mind right now, I have a lot of favorites, is Essentialism by, what's the guy's name? I'm blanking out his name. Essentialism. It's a very popular book. Mm-hmm. That is one of the few books that I've read multiple times. Okay. It's so important for the entrepreneur or anyone, the modern person who is constantly pressured to add more things, more businesses, more, where it's like, actually, we want to do less, but better. That's Essentialism.
Okay. I've actually heard of Essentialism. I haven't read it though, but a lot of people talk about that one.
Dude, you're going to love it. It's really good. Greg McKeown, he's the author.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show. Favorite all time is The Wire.
Nice.
Which is a classic. Favorite that comes to mind of the past few years is that show with John Hamm that has where he was the meme.
Mad Men?
Well, I love that show. This recent one, my neighbor's best friend's neighbors. He plays a rich hedge fund guy who starts robbing his neighbors. Super good. John Hamm.
I haven't heard of that one. Good. Okay, yeah. I got to check that out. I'm watching Better Call Saul right now. Because I was a huge Breaking Bad fan, and I always had friends who were like, "You got to check out Better Call Saul." So I'm checking that out, and it's great. It's a good slow burn, nice kind of show, and I hear it picks up. I'm just on season 1 right now, so
yeah, I haven't watched. I've watched a little bit of that. Yeah, that one. Everyone loves that show.
Yeah. And then favorite city, because I know sometimes you have to travel for coaching and whatnot. So what city besides Minneapolis?
U.S.-based city?
Yeah. Actually, it can be global too. I mean, you're well traveled. Yeah.
U.S.-based city. I'm going to say San Diego. I love Southern California beach vibe, and I'm a amateur horse surfer. I love that vibe, and I love that you can fly into downtown and you're there.
Yeah,
it's just I love everything about it. That's where I would live if I went somewhere else. If I snapped my fingers and moved.
Yeah, San Diego's cool. I feel like you get like the same weather as LA, but without all the traffic. And it's just a different vibe, right? Like LA's got its own little bubble of how people are and everything. And I don't want to stereotype it, but it is what it is. And San Diego seems to be a lot more laid back, less caring about what people are doing and more just living.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining today. Before we sign off, anything else that you want to share with the audience? Any takeaways?
No, thanks for having me. It's really fun talking to you. You're an awesome dude.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, and then we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much.